My top 10 teams entering week 12 did not change much from my week 11 top 10 teams. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So we had Utah at 10th last week. 7-2. They were on a bye. They're traveling to Baylor this Saturday, a game that we will be previewing. Utah is sitting right around 10th in most unanimous power ratings. In ESPN's efficiency, I believe they're at 5th or 6th. I forget exactly where they are, but they're in that top 6, top 7. With Devin Dampier and Caleb Lomu and Spencer Fano and that defense, they are one of the best teams in America. They, with their 7-2 record, projected to go 10-2 at this point with their remaining schedule, they would win 8, 9, 10 games in the Big Ten and probably 8, 9, 10 games in the SEC with how those conferences look. Utah looks more like a Big Ten or SEC team than a lot of Big Ten and SEC teams look like a Power 2 team, if you catch what I'm saying. Kyle Whittingham's one of the best coaches in the country, and if Utah's able to get that rematch with Texas Tech and Texas Tech's offense continues to be sluggish, maybe Kyle Whittingham can pull something out of his sleeve and put another feather in his cap. He's a wonderful coach, an amazing coach. I strongly believe that if he had more resources and better recruiting, he probably would win a national championship. That's how highly I respect Kyle Whittingham. At 9th, we have Notre Dame. Notre Dame didn't move up or down. I see a lot of people who commentate about how they think Notre Dame's a title contender, and I think a lot of that has to do with Marcus Freeman bias. Maybe I'm wrong. I like Freeman. I think he's a top 10 coach. But look at their, I'm going to say it, and maybe this is foolish, but two things. Secondary, it leads the nation in interceptions. It was close to doing that last year, and Ohio State tore it apart, and Ohio State's passing offense is better than it was last year. It held Indiana's passing offense to minimal marginal gains. But Indiana returned a lot from their receiver core and got better. Notre Dame, I would say it's inarguable. They're worse at DB than they were last year. And IU's just better than they were. So how do we know they'll survive Indiana's passing attack if they couldn't survive against a Miami and Carson Beck passing attack that doesn't look extremely good? And it's not like A&M's is the best thing in the world either. They were able to limit USC's, and that's a good thing. But USC on the road, especially offensively, and USC at home are a bit of a different animal here. This Pitt game, though, with it being on the road and with how Notre Dame against Boston College and very early on against Navy looked a little bit sluggish, if they can win that game convincingly, I will definitely raise them in my power ratings and be sold on the idea that at least they're in that next tier. But this idea that they're in tier 1 of the teams that can win it all, with some of the issues they've had on offense, and more importantly, that secondary, I just do not like that one bit. I think that they are a 2026 team, and that this team is worse than last year's team, and last year's team benefited from a good draw of teams that did not have great wide receiver play. 8th is Texas. Texas, they were on a bye. There's not much to say about them other than they have the ceiling, and they've been showing their ceiling more than their floor over the past 2, 3, 4 weeks outside of that ugly Kentucky game. If Arch Manning continues to play well, they have room to move up. I think getting Michael Taft back before the Georgia game is very critical because without him, their passing defense has certainly suffered. They do need to show me more before I put them back in that tier 1 as I had them preseason. It's a lot like Notre Dame and many other teams on this list, actually. Like, Notre Dame isn't that far behind Texas in my mind. They have an argument to be, I think, as high as 4th or 5th, Notre Dame does. And it's the same with most of these teams up until you hit that number 3 spot, where that 3 to 9 range is separated by fractions of a point. Any of those teams can easily beat each other on any given Saturday. Texas, they just have an upside to them on paper that is higher than probably every team in the country, except for, at this point, Ohio State and maybe Well, except for Ohio State and Alabama and maybe a healthy Oregon. At 7th, we have Texas Tech. Speaking of upside, number 1 defense in ESPN's efficiency, number 1 defense, I think, tied with Oklahoma in opponent-adjusted EPA per play allowed. 9-1, they just crushed BYU with anemic offense. If they can figure out offense, they can win some playoff games. They can cause some chaos in the playoffs. Do I think they can win it all? No, and I'm more confident that Texas and Notre Dame can than Texas Tech. But based on the current body of work, what Tech has been able to do in dominating everyone except for Arizona State when they had a backup QB and played their worst game is pretty incredible. At 6th, I have Georgia. A lot of this has to do with Kirby Smart and the fact that they just keep winning after losing to an Alabama team at home by 3 that some people I trust have number 1 and that I have higher on this list. So, yeah, with Georgia, a lot of it is trust. The on-field body of work has not been the prettiest. If you were solely going by on-field body of work in power ratings, you probably put them behind Notre Dame and maybe Texas. If you completely remove priors, they're behind Texas Tech. But priors are important. Past history is important. Coaching is important. And Kirby Smart's the best head coach we've discussed so far on this list. And honestly, I think that he is probably still to this point the best head coach on the list. It depends on what Curt Cignetti and Ryan Day do. This channel will make you a college football expert and help you enjoy watching games and make more accurate predictions. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment your thoughts, and watch the video all the way through so that you can get the full package. And check the description and pinned comment for more ways to help yourself and this channel. We have Oregon at 5th. They dropped 1 spot after their win over Iowa. This is, again, is from a power ratings angle. This is not a strength of record or purely resume or achievement-based rating system. That would be called a ranking. This is a top 10 power ratings, not top 10 rankings video for a reason. With the injuries that Oregon has sustained, I have to drop them a little bit because they're already thin at wide receiver, and they're down, at least as of that Iowa game, their top 3 wide receivers in the preseason. That's just not good. And it's not helping Dante Moore, who has struggled for the month of October and so far the early part of November. And I'm just not quite as high on Oregon as I was in September, early October. Still high on them, though. A lot of people are abandoning ship with Oregon. And with how high they are rated in metrics, I don't really like that. I mean, they went into Iowa's house and played Iowa's game and beat them at Iowa's game. And if they get Evan Stewart back and one of Kenyon Sadiq or Decorian Moore, they're going to be a threat. If they get all 3 back, they'll probably be playing their best football in the playoffs as a young team that now has experience, and that would be very dangerous. So Oregon, his power rating's a bit of a hedge here. If I'm assuming they're going to be this banged up for the rest of the year, I probably put them anywhere from 7th to 9th. Seriously. If I assume they're going to rebound and be totally healthy, they are no lower than 4th, and there's an argument for them at some point to move up to number 1, but not right now. Speaking of the top 4, I have Texas A&M rising a spot, jumping Oregon after their dominant win over Missouri on the road. I overreacted to the news that Matt Zollers would be starting for Vanderbilt. I thought it would be the 3rd string quarterback for whatever reason, but no. A&M at one point led 21-0. They were the better team throughout, the more physically dominant team, the more SEC team, the more national title caliber team. A&M can win it all. These top 3 teams ahead are that group of teams that, as of right now, I think have the highest odds to win it all. This next tier, from 4 to 9, are teams that I can see winning a title if certain things go right. I would have A&M and Oregon in that Tier 2A category, where if A&M continues to play this way, they'll eventually move up into Tier 1. If Oregon gets healthy, they will automatically rejoin Tier 1. And within Tier 1, there is a bit of a hierarchy that I will explain, but it not really at the same time. I think it's clear who is number 1, number 2, number 3 from the eye test, but eye test is not the same as power ratings, and eye test is not the same as who's going to be the best at the end of the year. Alabama at 8-1, ranked 3rd. I can't get their struggles in running the ball or recent struggles on offense out of my head, and I can't get that entire Florida State game out of my head, though I have most of it out. Alabama, I don't think there's an argument for them to be lower than 3rd at this point, or, I mean, I'll listen to you if you think they're the 4th best team, but I won't agree with that. I think they're anywhere from 1 to 3rd in power ratings, and anything lower than that's kind of unacceptable. Ty Simpson's playing well. I don't think he's quite Mendoza or Sayin, but he's playing at a high level, and that defense, ever since that Florida State game, has been playing lights out. That is a wonderful defense that Kane Womack is coaching, and they have the best secondary in college football. Indiana at number 2, they are competing with Oregon, Miami, and Notre Dame for having the best lines of scrimmage in football. They allow the big play at times on defense. They're good for one deep pass a game. Occasionally they'll give up a big run, though it's more so the deep pass that you got to be concerned about with them. But I think as of right now, from a eye test perspective, they're the clear number 2. What they were able to do against Oregon on the road, against that version of Oregon, I seriously don't think any other team would do that. Now, I don't have Indiana at 1. I have Ohio State at 1. So if there is one team who I think could replicate the success that Indiana has had, it would be the Buckeyes, who as of right now, and especially after last Saturday, I think are the number 1 team in eye test, and based on what I know right now, should be power rated number 1. But if you want to tell me that you have Indiana at 1 or Alabama at 1, I won't really say that's totally incorrect. I think that the top 3 are the unanimous top 3. I will be honest in saying that I don't think Ohio State can be any lower than 3, whereas Alabama and Indiana, I can at least hear the argument that they should be at 4th. If you tell me Ohio State is both worse than Indiana and Alabama and one other team, no. Absolutely not, based on what I'm watching right now. Again, circling back to that comment about Indiana in Autzen Stadium, I think that Indiana is the best coached team on this list, and outside of maybe Oregon and Notre Dame, they have the best lines of scrimmage on the list. The best team's Ohio State, obviously, but I was looking for something else. The best perimeter play, though, goes to Alabama and Ohio State, and they are the best in that category by a mile. No one is close to them in terms of combined secondary play, receiver, and quarterback play. Like the elements of the passing offense and the passing defense. No one outside of maybe Indiana and Oregon, but only when things go absolutely right for them, are close to those two teams. So right now, I think that the national championship is going to come from number 1, number 2, or number 3. Wouldn't be shocked if this list continues to change and evolve throughout the season, but we are closer to the end of the season. We're anywhere from 9 to 10 games through with all these teams. So we're close to that finish line in the regular season. We know about a lot of these teams and what they are. Thank you for watching. It's my mission on College Football with Sam to make you the most informed, knowledgeable, and entertained fan as possible. We aren't perfect, but we hit the nail on the head more often than we hit our thumb with the hammer. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment, and if you're here, you've probably already watched the whole video. So thank you for doing those things.